Hey everyone, today I am driving a 2013 Audi A3 and I'm going to share with you everything you need to know about what I call the luxury hot hatch. Now the reason why I call this car the luxury hot hatch is because, believe it or not, it shares all of its mechanical components with the Volkswagen GTI, which is arguably the king of the hot hatch class. Now, there are some differences between the cars. Obviously, the interior and exterior styling is very Audi-like compared to the Volkswagen. And it's tuned to be a little bit more soft, meaning the suspension tuning is a little softer. The steering is not quite as quick as a GTI. So the overall feel is not quite as racy as what you would get from the Volkswagen. It gives you a little bit more luxury. Other than that, mechanically, it's identical. It has the same 200 horsepower, 2-liter direct injected turbocharged engine. It has the same DSG 6-speed semi-automatic dual clutch transmission and shares all of the same suspension architecture. Audi first introduced the A3 here in the United States as a 2006 model year, and they only offered the 5-door hatchback body style. It's actually the second generation of the A3. The first generation, however, was not sold in the United States. Final production was the 2013 model year of this body style. There was not a 2014 A3. And then they introduced a new sedan body style A3 in 2015. Now this car is built on what the Volkswagen Auto Group calls the PQ35 platform. And it actually shares this chassis with quite a few different cars, including Volkswagens such as the Mark 5 and Mark 6 GTI, Mark 5, Mark 6 Jetta, the Volkswagen EOS, and then some Audi products like the Mark II TT, and as well as a couple of SUVs, including the Audi Q3 and the first generation Volkswagen Tiguan. When Audi first introduced the A3 in 2006, there was initially two drivetrains offered. First was the FSI 2-liter direct-injected turbocharged 4-cylinder that made 200 horsepower and 207 foot-pounds of torque. That engine came standard with a 6-speed manual transmission, or you could get the optional S-tronic dual-clutch DCT transmission. Now, that S-tronic transmission is actually the same as the DSG transmission that you would find in a Volkswagen GTI. And in fact, it's not a traditional torque converter automatic transmission. It's actually a manual transmission where the clutch engagement and the shifting is done automatically. The 2.0T was only available in front-wheel drive. However, you could also get a 3.2-liter narrow-angle VR6 engine with standard quattro all-wheel drive. This very cool engine makes 250 horsepower and 236 foot-pounds of torque. However, it was only available with the S-tronic dual-clutch transmission. The VR6 Quattro option was dropped after the 2009 model year. However, starting in 2009, you could still get Quattro all-wheel drive, but now with the 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. Although, as with the VR6, it was still only offered with the dual-clutch S-tronic transmission. In fact, there was never an A3 model made that had Quattro all-wheel drive and a manual transmission. 2009 also had a few other pretty significant changes. The first was a very nice styling facelift that updated the bodywork front and rear. There was also a sport package that was now offered that had very nice contoured seats, a lowered ride height, and a stiffer suspension. That made the A3 a lot more on par with a GTI as far as handling goes. Additionally, there was quite a big change that was made to the 2-liter turbocharged engine, now called TFSI. Now, power is unchanged at 200 horsepower and 207 foot-pounds. However, it had some significant changes that helped durability, reliability, and efficiency. The biggest change was going from a timing belt in the FSI engine to a timing chain. Starting in 2010, you could get the very fuel-efficient 2-liter TDI turbo diesel engine in the Audi A3. For more information on the Volkswagen Auto Group TDI engines, check out my review of a 2015 Volkswagen Golf TDI, where I cover all of the details and history of these fuel-efficient yet very torquey engines. Also starting in 2010, there were 2 different sport packages offered. The first was called the 18-inch sport package, which comes with 18 by 7.5-inch tri-spoke wheels with 225/40 high-performance tires, leather sports seats, and a sports suspension with stiffer springs and shocks and a 20mm lowered ride height. Finally, there was the titanium sport package, which comes with 18 by 7.5-inch titanium optic wheels, very nice looking leather Alcantara sports seats, piano black interior and exterior trim, and the same sport suspension tuning from the 18-inch sport package. My 2013 test car is a Premium Plus package finished in brilliant black, and it's equipped with the panoramic moonroof and cold weather package. Current KBB fair market value is around $13,000, which also happens to be about the same value as a comparably equipped GTI. So which one is best? Well, that's for you to decide. But here are the key differences between a 2010 to 2013 Audi A3 and a Mark 6 Volkswagen GTI. The A3 is available only as a 4-door with a hatchback, versus the GTI, which could be had in either 2 or 4-door configurations. Cargo space. There's definitely some differences in cargo space comparing from an A3 to a GTI, but not only that, comparing from the early A3 to the later facelift model. The 06 to 08 A3 has more cargo space than a GTI with the seats folded, yet it has less space with the rear seat up. And the 2010 to 2013 A3 has more space with the rear seats up, yet less than a GTI with the seats folded. The A3 is fractionally longer and a little bit shorter than a GTI, yet they share the same wheelbase and track width. Curb weight. Well, depending on options, an A3 can be anywhere from 150 pounds to 300 pounds heavier than a GTI. And the 3.2 Quattro models can be as much as 700 pounds heavier than a GTI. The GTI has stiffer springs, shocks, and suspension, and it has a quicker steering ratio than the A3. The A3 has standard leather seats and dual zone climate control. Those are both options on GTIs. Finally, the A3 offered options that you couldn't get on any Mark 5 or Mark 6 GTI. A dual pane panoramic sunroof, and powertrain options such as the 3.2 VR6 and TDI engines, and Quattro all-wheel drive. Okay, time to get this car back out on the road for some quick driving impressions. But be sure to stick around to the end, where I go over some of the key maintenance and reliability issues that these cars may have. And I'll also give you my top pick on which model to look for if you're shopping for one.
Power is extremely strong. In fact, I'd go so far as to say that I think that Volkswagen and Audi really underrate these engines. It just feels so much stronger than 200 horsepower and 207 foot-pounds of torque. Highway ride is pretty compliant. The tuning is, as I said before, definitely on the more luxurious side for the suspension, but that's definitely going to be a welcome feature for long-distance trips. This car is fantastic when you think of it in the sense of you have all of the power and torque of a GTI, but with a more luxurious ride and some more upscale features. And along with that more luxurious ride, you definitely get a quieter cabin than you would find in a GTI. Jump off the highway right here and check out the brakes. Drama-free, very strong. You can definitely tell that it shares parts with a GTI. Now, if you've seen my other videos on Volkswagens and Audis, I'm obviously a very big fan of the DSG dual clutch transmission, or what Audi calls S-tronic. And it's a fantastic dual purpose transmission where we can be just tooling along like this, cruising in drive, and it's as comfortable and smooth as an automatic. But then when the road kind of gets twisty like this, we can drop it here into the sport mode and we can start using our paddle shifters, lip throttle downshifts, and lightning quick upshifts. Seat comfort is really good. However, if you've sat in a GTI and you like those seats, you will miss the lateral support that they provide in this car. There was a sport package that was offered on this car. However, this car does not have that, and those have a little bit better bolstering, but certainly well behind what a GTI offers as far as support going around corners. That being said, if you're just going down the freeway a lot or on bumpy roads, these are a little bit more comfortable and easier to get in and out of. So you can definitely feel that the turn-in response isn't as quick as a GTI, and you don't quite get the same level of feedback. That being said, it is your typical Volkswagen Audi product. The steering is very direct, lots of feedback. The weighting is just fantastic for a twisty road like this. Yes, the suspension tuning is a little softer in this car compared to a GTI, but composure is really good over the bumps, absorbs things well, and keeps all four tires locked down nicely.
Okay, as promised, here are some key maintenance and reliability things that you should look for on these cars if you're shopping for one. First is carbon buildup on the intake valves. This is actually a pretty common thing on most direct injected turbocharged gasoline engines, and it even seems to happen more often on Audi products because of how they're driven. Short story is, you kind of need to drive these cars hard once in a while. Wide open throttle, higher revs will keep things clean on the intake valves. If you're just tooling around at low revs and very light throttle, it can build up over time. My second tip is, if you're looking at a early 2006 to 2008 A3, be sure to try to find out when the timing belt was done, and if it hasn't been done, you need to budget for that. My third tip is, on models with the S-tronic dual clutch transmission, those require a critical service every 40,000 miles. If not maintained properly, those units can fail and be very expensive. So maintenance history is key. My final maintenance and reliability tip is coil packs and spark plugs. Volkswagens and Audis can sometimes be known as the check engine light special, and a lot of the time those check engine lights are due to misfires. These misfires almost always are caused by faulty coil packs and or spark plugs, and hot weather can make that worse. Finally, it's time for my top picks on the best A3 years and models that you should look for. Well, first, my honorable mention. As I mentioned earlier, from 2006 to 2009, you could get the very cool 3.2 liter VR6 engine with quattro all-wheel drive and the S-tronic transmission. This is the same drivetrain that you will find in the very limited edition 2008 Volkswagen Golf R32, meaning the Audi version is not only considerably cheaper, but the only way to get this cool drivetrain with 4 doors. These are very cool cars. However, they are quite heavy, which somewhat defeats the performance advantage over the 2.0 turbo. This leads me to my top pick on the best Audi A3 you should shop for. Look for a 2009 to 2013 2.0T with the Quattro all-wheel drive. This is the only way to get a Volkswagen or Audi product with the 2.0 liter turbo engine, Quattro all-wheel drive, and the dual clutch transmission without spending a bunch more money on either an Audi TT or a newer A3, S3, or Mark 7 Golf R. This drivetrain combo can make very strong power with just a tune and some simple bolt-ons. And the Quattro DCT combination with launch control will make it lightning quick. The ultimate score for an Audi A3 would be a 2009 model with the optional sport package and magnetic shocks, which that suspension was essentially lifted out of the Audi TT. However, that was the only year the magnetic suspension was offered, and they are going to be very tough to find. Well, that wraps up my quick review on the 2006 to 2013 Audi A3, a car I call the luxury hot hatch. Thanks for watching, everyone. Be sure to hit subscribe for more cool reviews, motorsports, and how-to videos.